everyone. Let's take a closer look at the PlayStation 2 and find out what all this fuss is about, what these people are waiting for.
The hype is huge. The time has arrived. The PlayStation 2 has finally landed on US soil. Only those lucky enough to actually get their hands on one will be able to see if the hardware measures up to the hype. The battle of the next generation consoles has officially begun.
It was 2001, a year after Y2K. Technology was slowly advancing, especially in video game consoles. The PlayStation 2 was a significant improvement over PlayStation 1, not just in terms of graphics, but also less developers create some of the most stunning and beautiful games ever seen on the PS2. We talk about Grand Theft Auto 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2, Max Payne, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and many more. These titles dominated the early years of the PS2 from 2000 to 2001, this showcasing the console power and versatility. But there's one game that stands out the most, and it's none other than Devil May Cry. Just to let you guys know that I wasn't around during the PS2 era. I was non-existent until 2005. In my country, during that year, we didn't have anything like what they have in the West. When it came to technology, such as PlayStation, Xbox, computers, laptops, and much more. I never owned a PlayStation or Xbox console even to this day, so I really didn't know much about it, nor having any console childhood games. Let's just get back to the topics. Before I want to talk about Devil May Cry 2, I want to let you guys have a short history of Devil May Cry 1 development. This video came from the Spears Hunter. She make very good videos, so I recommend you guys should go check her channel out. After she finished Resident Evil Code Veronica X, her game came with another disc. It was a demo disc for an upcoming Capcom title called Devil May Cry. And holy crap, she wasn't kidding. For a demo, DMC1 felt like it's going to be a masterpiece. The fast-paced gameplay, high-action combat system that never been seen or implemented on the PS2 until now. A mysterious, badass red crimson suit guy who used swords and guns to take down hordes of enemies. The game itself have a lot of similarities to Resident Evil, but instead of just survival horror, it's also mixed with high-action combat gameplay. After the success of Resident Evil 2, Capcom wanted Hideaki Itsuno to create a new Resident Evil game, which was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, but it was a failed attempt. So he decided to create a new game that looked like Resident Evil, but with more stylish, high-action gameplay. I don't know much about the development of DMC1, but let's just say the development was rough. The team was working on the project with so many new elements and features that it almost felt like it wasn't even a survival horror game like Resident Evil anymore, but more of an entirely new IP itself. At first, Capcom felt like they didn't need this type of game, but then they changed their minds and decided that the project was good enough to become its own game. Kamiya and his team, now called Team Little Devil, heard the news and gained a new direction for the project. No longer needing to follow the Resident Evil story, they rewriting the game plot to focus on a cool and badass guy in a red crimson suit who lives in a fantasy demon world, taking down demons to earn money to buy pizza, I don't know. And that red crimson suit guy now has the name Dante. And so Devil May Cry was released in August 23, 2001.
Let's rock, baby.
and it blew everyone's mind, from the story to the gameplay, eventually becoming a masterpiece, receiving tons of positive reviews, critical acclaim, and praise for being one of the best PS2 games during 2001. And to this day, this game is still filling my dark soul with life.
Can't let a single one of those suckers live.
5 minutes.
More than enough.
After the success of Devil May Cry 1, Capcom immediately greenlit and took the opportunity to make a sequel, Devil May Cry 2. However, this time it was different. The team that developed the original game, Team Little Devil, did not work on DMC2 and was not even informed about it. Capcom didn't bother to let Team Little Devil know they were working on a sequel and thought that it would be a good idea if they hire a new team so they could get this game come out quickly after the first game. But this new team primarily worked on Capcom arcade games and had little experience with 3D games. Dante is also more serious looking in DMC2 promotional trailer, because the new team would just assume that how Dante personality would look like in the promotional material for DMC1. So after a month of development, everything went wrong and downhill. Capcom realized it. They brought Hideaki Itsuno to replace the director of Devil May Cry 2, which to this day is still unknown, in hoping of him to fix and salvage the game, becoming at least in a playable and sellable stage. When Itsuno asked the team what they have been working on, they said that the only thing they haven't done right was the stinger. Yes, I am not even kidding, a freaking DMC2 stinger. Itsuno and team only have like 4 months to finish the game, but somehow Itsuno just literally straight up locked in for 4 months, turning this game into a proper playable stage. How impressive is that? Although it's still not enough to make the game good, and some features was also cut, which I'm going to talk about later on. I'd say it was one of the most difficult projects to work on, with such a tight schedule, a rushed development cycle, and a lack of polish compared to its predecessor. This was all Itsuno and the team could accomplish in just 6 months of development. And so, Devil May Cry 2 was released in January 25, 2003. This game was a disaster and a disappointment for everyone who was a big fan of DMC1, especially the game design and the combat system. It changed a lot about what made the first game so satisfying to play. The map and level was way too big to the point most of the time you're just walking around in an empty space. Enemies, especially in normal mode, were basically act like a dummy, like they won't even attack you when you was right in their face, or just standing still right in front of them doing nothing. Not just enemy, but some of the boss are like giant boring dummy too. Most of them were also questionable to be called boss. Yes, I'm talking to you two, Infested Chopper and Tank. Instead of pause combo or delay combo like you normally do in DMC1, it now replaced with a new directional combo system that's very clunky and not fit very well for the series. Dodging is now just a single button press in DMC2, instead of DMC1 where you have to lock on and press the jump button to dodge. Gun in DMC1, specifically Dante Pistol, Ebony and Ivory, was a way to keep the enemy juggle in the air once you launch or perform a high time and start shooting. In DMC2, they were so overpowered to the point you don't even need to launch enemy up to juggling them in the air with your sword. You just hold down the shoot button and let the gun do their jobs. It will start automatically juggling for you. They even do more damage than DMC1. You can just use gun only to play through the whole game, no problem. There's many more flaws to it, but I'm not here to talk about it much since everybody already knows how bad this game were. This impact on not just Capcom, but Hideaki Itsuno's career a lot. He didn't want to be known as Hideaki Itsuno, the director of DMC2, so he asked Capcom for a chance to create the craziest Devil May Cry they have ever seen. Using his knowledge of fighting games, playing DMC1 to understand how the game worked, and listening to all the feedback from DMC2, he aimed to bring out what worked best for the series. The team that working on DMC3 had little to no experience working on a major hit game before, but Itsuno motivated them, giving them courage to create a game that would go on to become one of the most iconic and groundbreaking action titles in video game history. And their name would be put on something great. They went all out with DMC3, fully utilizing the capacity of the PS2, and the rest is history.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry 3 saved the franchise. But it wouldn't have happened without Devil May Cry 2, believe it or not. Devil May Cry 2's reputation as a game will forever be seen by everyone as one of the worst games ever made. The reputation was so strong that most people forgot about the good aspects of DMC2. The negativity spread widely like COVID, and even those who have never played or heard of it still knew it as one of the worst games ever. If you search on YouTube for Devil May Cry 2 videos like Chromcat or other critics, you'll always find that they are amongst the first results, and they mostly talk about the negativity about the game, and I completely agree with everything they said and showed about DMC2. However, the problem is that there are so many of these negative videos that it's rare to find any positive ones showing people how amazing, yes, I said it, how amazing Devil May Cry 2 is. There are some people who also discuss the good aspect of DMC2, so I recommend checking them out if my video doesn't interest you. And I'm here to talk about the good, the positive, and the beauty of Devil May Cry 2, and why it is important to the franchise as a whole.
Devil May Cry 2.
Let's talk about the concept art and the design. Oh my god, these are some of the most gorgeous concept art I have ever seen. The way Dante just standing there, looking around his surroundings, kinda give me that Silent Hill vibe to it. Especially the part where he's standing in the middle of the long road alone, looking towards the tall building. It gave me an in-depth vision of what the world in DMC2 could have looked like if the game had been a finished product. Imagine a remake of Devil May Cry 2, it would look so good, I guarantee you that. It's also helped me understand how the world in Devil May Cry 2 works, giving me a deeper understanding of not just visual aesthetics, but also the atmosphere and the overall vibe. Dante character design is still, probably to this day, one of my favorite Dante design in the franchise. He looks so gothic, edgy and elegant, from the red coat to the hair. Pretty much everything about it just spot on in every way possible. It's also reflecting a more serious tone and mature Dante appearance. His double trigger form is also one of the most coolest and badass things I ever seen. He even have a freaking Gatling or miniguns in his hand. How cool is that? Not to mention, this is the first game that featured a Majin double trigger, which is now called Sin double trigger for Dante. Let's not forget about the second playable character in DMC2, Lucia. Her design is so amazing and slick, kinda have that contrast with Dante, it reflecting her role as a skilled warrior and striking appearance. Her double trigger form is breathtaking. It had the perfect blends of angelic and demonic elements that make it truly beautiful and stand out to me. Although the maps, environments, and level design in this game isn't as impressive as the concept art I just showed, it still captures a certain vibe to it. I mean, look at this. The city of V. the Mali, where much of the game takes place, have a mix of modern and ancient architecture, urban areas, industrial complex, Gothic inspired ruins, tall building, and many more. It looked really good in some parts of the maps. And most of the enemies and boss design also very cool in my opinion, like a mix of gothic and industrial element feel to it. And they blend in very well with the world and map design itself, except you two. Let's talk about the improvements and features first, because there's a lot than you think. This was the first Devil May Cry game to feature multiple playable characters with different story. Dante, Lucia, and Triss. Well, only Dante and Lucia have different story. Triss, on the other hand, it's just an unlockable playable character after you beat hard mode. And all three of them have their own moveset to it. Also forgot to mention, while Dante and Lucia have directional combo system, Triss on the other hand have a pause delayed combo system just like DMC1? Kinda weird. There's a lot of unlockable costume for Dante and Lucia compared to DMC1. Freaking Diesel, man.
That's just a piece of crap.
Mission select. You can now able to choose what mission you want to play, which DMC1 didn't have. The first DMC to introduce Dante iconic sword, Rebellion, and also iconic game mode, Bloody Palace. Double trigger amulet system allows you to customize how double trigger works. You can choose whether you want to fly, run fast, deal more damage, or restore more health while using double trigger. Pretty cool. A secret Majin double trigger form, the prototype of Sin double trigger that can be activated once your health is low, featuring its own unique fighting movesets. It includes powerful move like the armed red sword thing with tons of cool attacks you can pull off. A fire demonic balls blast, I don't know, would deal a massive ridiculous amount of damage. A self-destruct exploding thing, and a demonic laser beam that literally spammable. Most of these names are just me making them up because the move remained unnamed to this day. Dedicated style action button that introduced a proto trickster style, dodging, wall running, not just proto trickster but also a proto gunslinger, Rainstone and Tucson. The lock-on system now allows you to switch on different enemy freely. You can also turn up the auto lock-on by holding the override button. Introducing weapon switching in real time without the need to go through the menu to equip them. An amazing feature, I must say. Introducing air combos. Dante and Lucia can now perform just a tiny few aerial combos, but even though it's a bit flawed, if you use them correctly, it's very cool and fun to pull off. Because of the new directional combo system, DMC2 Dante Rebellion have one of the biggest combo lists in Devil May Cry games. About 7 of them, which also including Double Trigger Combo 2. New Rebellion move, Drop Bomb. The moves was unnamed so I make it up. Unfortunately, it never make a return. Introducing Soar's gun combo, mostly the shotgun. We got Firework, Rolling Bullet, and Finisher. The last two was unnamed so I make it up. And that's all the improvements and features I could find. Next is animation and detail. All I can say about the animations in this game is that they are spot on in every way possible, from the variety of attack animations and the overall fluidity of movements to acrobatic dodging, wall running animations that look like it inspired from the Matrix movie itself. Even shooting animations feel so refined and stylish, especially while jumping and doing two sometimes. Not just Dante animations, but also Lucia animation too. The details, though small, but are worth talking about. In all of the other DMC games, if you are holding lock on, you always see the character holding out and pointing their guns. However, in DMC2, it depends on which weapon you used previously. If the last weapon you used was a sword, you'll reach your hands to your sword as a lock-on stance. If the last weapon you used was a gun, you will point your gun as a lock-on stand. Basically, 2 variations. Very awesome. Dante's hair now have physics. No way! And it will react whenever you do certain things like combos, running, dodging, many more. The fact that even though you already destroy an enemy, you can still juggling them no matter what, until they touch the ground, of course. Dante and Lucia have like 2 combo stars animation whenever we use the Rebellion or Cut Laser. Small detail, by the way, that barely anyone cares about it. I want to give a quick shout out to Dysfunctional D for discovering these amazing details even I didn't notice during my DMC2 playthrough. In other DMC, if you land a hit on an enemy, their blood will splatter, but it will fade out immediately. But in DMC2, the blood actually stay on the floor and wall for the rest of the mission. It make the room different, like this was before the battle and after the battle. Now that is some coolest detail I ever seen. There's this cool little subtle animations that if the last weapon you used was a sword, you can see Dante immediately start swinging his sword. If the last weapon you used was guns, Dante will put away his gun first and then reach for the sword to strike. There's also a brief moment where if you decide to shoot for Dante holding his gun, you can see Dante just start shooting immediately. If you decide to shoot while Dante isn't holding his guns, Dante would slowly raise his hand up a bit to take out his gun first and then start shooting. Now that is some craziest detail ever, because no other DMC game ever did this. Does this animation remind you of something? The soundtrack and music in this game are absolute banger and one of my favorite in the series. I mean, just take a listen to these tracks. The story of Dante and Lucia, I know is not perfect and very boring in some parts, but it's alright. I mean, in concept, it's actually really good. Because I feel like it has so much potential, but the development was rushed, so I couldn't blame them. If I'm being honest, I really like this take of Dante in DMC2. His personality changed. He felt older, quieter, more mature, barely show any emotional at all, like old Dante in another universe. One of the most unique aspects of this version of Dante, compared to his other portrayals in the DMC franchise, instead of being a goofy, wacky woohoo piece of man, this Dante introduced something iconic, the coin flip. You see him flipping that coins in countless of cutscenes to decide whether he wants to help or not. And it's more than just a quirky habit, it is his signature thing to do, adding a touch of mystery to his character as a whole. Most of the cutscenes in DMC2 rarely show him talking, but damn, some of them have the coolest cutscenes and one of the most badass lines whenever Dante encounters a boss.
That's just a piece of crap. Here's another 3 for you. Crap like that doesn't interest me. But your swan song will. Don't speak. Just die. Is there a problem?
You! Is that the medallia? You switched them?
false coin for a false god. Showtime.
My dream! My life! I was going to be the king of this world!
King? Yeah. Here's your crown.
All these lines are voiced by Matthew Kaminsky. I swear, he is the most underrated Dante voice actor out there. I think he would fit very well for an old mature Dante. Remember the concept art of Dante riding a bike with a shotgun? We even get some badass bike scene in the cutscene. Well, that bike was supposed to be a part of DMC2, but due to technical limitation on the PS2, they had to cut the feature. How do I know this? Crazy make a documentary about DMC cut content. It's a great video, and I highly recommend it if you're interested in that kind of thing. But let's just focus on the bike only. It's have 2 playable missions, which would have brought the total number of missions from 18 to 20. With the unused animation, we can actually see the vision of how those missions would have played out. Kinda like Route 666 from Bayonetta, or Ghost Rider from the PS2. The bike itself even have its own double trigger form. How crazy is that? And this is all the good, the positive, and the beauty hidden within Devil May Cry 2. There may be more to it, but this is everything I could find up and share with you all. Despite all the negative from the fanbase and video game industry itself failing to become bigger and better than DMC1, the series we all know and love today wouldn't exist without its flaw, major failure, and small success. Look how many features from DMC2 were brought to DMC3. Style action button, air combo, weapon switching, and many more. It changed the series completely. Not just the gameplay, but the franchise itself as a whole. Imagine if Devil May Cry 2 was a finished product, rather than a failure. The series may have turned out very differently. We might never have had that stylish combo man. Dante DMC2 personality could have remained more serious for the rest of the series. And characters like Virgil, Lady, and Nero might not even exist. Plus, many games that are inspired by Devil May Cry combat system might never have been created. It's unsettling to think about how a single change could have shifted video game history forever, like someone altering the past. It could have drastically changed the future as we know it. Thinking about it is both terrifying and disturbing. It's like altering a family tree of generations. If you remove DMC2, DMC3, 4, and 5 might not even exist, or they could be a completely different DMC game from the one we know and love. How about replacing it with a finished DMC2 instead? Game like DMC3 might have stuck to the Resident Evil formula seen in 1 and 2, and it wouldn't been as crazy as we know today. Virtual and Lazy might not even exist. DMC4 probably won't have its infamous style switching mechanic, freestyle combat system, or even the newcomer character Nero. Heck, even Donkey990, a well-known DMC player, created a lot of DMC4 combo man videos that showcase the incredible depth and layer hidden within DMC4 combat system. He literally turned a crazy combo video into one of the most stunning work of art, just like a museum. Might as well not even exist if things have gone differently. I can't imagine what a perfect game like Devil May Cry 5 would look like if that were to happen. No more wacky woohoo pizza man, no more edgelord V, no more deadweight Nero and Nico, and worst of all, no playable escape child support Virgil, or even Bury the Light.
I am the storm that is approaching.
That is how important Devil May Cry 2 is, and a lot of people don't know about it. Devil May Cry 2 to this day is still one of the most hauntedly beautiful and terribly flawed games ever made. From the stunning characters, world level design, to the beautiful soundtracks and features, and the awesome animation and detail, and potential story. It's incredible that this game was released in a playable state after just 6 months of development. The reason I make this video is kind of funny, because a lot of people in the community I join keep saying I'm glazing DMC2 or I'm just trying to be different. I want to show not just them, but to everyone, not the dark, but the light of Devil May Cry 2, so they can understand why I love this game, even though it's both terrible and beautiful at the same time. I hope that one day Hideaki Itsuno will give Devil May Cry 2 the remake treatment, similar to what Resident Evil have received from Capcom. It will be incredible to see how the game world could evolve. Perhaps maybe the atmosphere will be just like in the drawing from the concept art. A story rewrite could make the lore more accessible for newcomers and expand on Dante and Lucia's stories, giving us more connections to the character itself. And a new combat system will be awesome, offering something exciting for both Dante and Lucia players. And many more, who knows? This would probably give the game the recognition it truly deserves.
Devil May Cry 2. Yeah, let's go all the way to hell.
As always, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and remember to keep moving forward.
My job is hunting devils. Devils never cry. I know. He did the same thing.
But Sparta did come back.
Imagine a world without Devil May Cry 2.